Those of you joining us through our streaming services, I welcome you. You would not have gotten the full effect of coming to church tonight to find closed doors. Now, we weren't trying to be rude or inhospitable. We weren't trying, if I was a spinster for cable news, I'd probably say, we're trying to give you that Joseph and Mary effect of coming to the ends and finding closed doors. But we have a part of our heating system that decided it didn't want to work on Christmas Eve. And so our heating went out, so it was pretty cold in here, but you've all warmed it up pretty nicely here, so I appreciate that. We weren't trying to be rude, we were trying to keep all the warmth inside. So if you're a little cold, just snuggle up, it's okay. And snuggle to the person next to you. The star. What is this star that the Magi saw? We are entering the time of Christmas. Actually, we have been in Advent, and we begin Christmas, and Christmas is actually 12 days. That's where the song 12 Days of Christmas comes to and ends on Epiphany, which is January 6th. And that is the time where we typically celebrate and remember the Magi coming and bringing their gifts to the Christ child in the star. Many have tried to figure out what this star is, or what the star may have been, if there was a real historical appearance in the sky. Some say that during that time of around Jesus' birth, which is not exactly at year 0 or year 1, but off about 3 or 4 years. But they would say that there was a conjunction in the Palestinian skies of planets that came together and would have been very bright because they were so close together. That's not giving these Magi who were supposed to be very wise men much credit. You'd think they would have known what the planets were and the patterns of the planets and understand that it wasn't a star but actually planets coming together. And so that theory has been ruled out unless you want to believe the Magi didn't know their stars very well and their planets. Some say that perhaps this was a comet. And a comet throughout centuries have come into our solar system from far away, burning bright with burning ice and hydrogen and all sorts of gases lighting up the skies, some that we can see, some that we cannot. And often a comet would be something that was supposed to be an omen, a sign. So that's possible that perhaps a comet came into the skies. Now, if you are a sky watcher or like to keep your ear tuned to the news about such things, you would have known that there was such a comet. There is actually such a comet now in our skies, another Lovejoy comet, not the same one that we saw before, but discovered by the same Lovejoy astronomer. But there was another comet, the Ison comet. Interesting that it was ISON. It came into our skies and were baffling scientists, and they were turning the Mars rover's cameras up to the sky, trying to get pictures of this thing. It was supposed to be bright, but then it wasn't as bright as they thought it was going to be. And then they tried to send out a rocket telescope, and on takeoff, this telescope got it was actually not the rocket one, but the big balloon one got malfunctioned, and so that didn't work. And scientists were just baffled trying to get pictures, and they got the Hubble telescope to zoom in on it and get some pictures of it. And they thought perhaps this was going to come near the sun right around Thanksgiving, come out and perhaps be one of the brightest comets we had ever seen in our skies right around now, right around a couple weeks ago into Christmas. And yet the comet came, and it wasn't as bright as they thought, and it went around the sun, and it kind of came out, and then it just fizzled. And it was gone. Comet dust. They said this comet had traveled billions of light, a long way from the Oort cloud, and something had knocked it loose and pulled it from the Oort cloud. And I don't know what I'm talking about, but the Oort cloud is way out there, and it came all the way here to die and fizzle out. And unless you had a good telescope or used other telescopes and through the internet, you didn't see it unless you saw it through the news. But it was there. These lights that we see, these lights in our sky, and if we can get out into the country where there's not much light pollution, we can look up on a clear day and see billions of stars. Light shining guiding us. Some lights burning brighter than others. And the Magi saw a light, and it compelled them to come and visit the Christ child. Some part of their knowledge, some part of their history, some part of their culture had a prophecy connected to a star that they would see in the sky. An interesting star, scientists who say if you take Matthew literally, a star that would come into the sky, a light that would come to the sky and then stop over a certain area, it couldn't have been anything but a UFO. But somehow there was something in the sky that led them to see this child. Now you can take that literally, or you can tie that to what we believe about this child. That Christ came into the world in this life, that before we even had the birth stories, he was in his ministry teaching, showing compassion, being a light to people that other people had cast out. Speaking of justice, standing up for people, loving them, loving those that others would not love, and preaching and giving a message of mercy and of compassion and a passionate voice for justice for all of us. A light that shines in his world. And just like comets, it can come, it can burn up, and we can behold a light, and then it can be gone, and then we can be talking about it and having theories all about it, as they probably will do for Comet Ison for decades to come. And just like that with Christ and with the one who has come to shine, we have talked about Christ, we have written theology, we have tried to figure out who Christ is, we have written and studied and talked a lot about who Christ is, but the fact is that something burned bright in this person of Jesus Christ that has continued to burn bright till now. That in this Christ child, in this human being who came, who preached to us, who teach us, there was a light that shined brighter than any light we had seen before. The presence of God, the Son of God, the one who would redeem us, just a good teacher. Whatever your belief is, maybe it's a question you live in your life, maybe it's a certainty you hold, but whatever you want to say about Christ is a light that has burned bright and continues to burn and shine. And that's what we celebrate today, that there is a light greater than even the length of our lives. They say if you go out into the sky and look up into the sky and you're looking at stars, you're looking at lights that are billions of light years old. Not just years, light years. The distance light travels in a year. Is that right? That is old. Some of these stars, the light that you're seeing is so old, astronomers say they actually are study time travel. They're studying light that is so old, it's very possible, very likely that many of those lights, many of those stars that you're looking up at are dead, have burned out, and are no longer shining. And yet we still see the light. The light shines in our lives. The light comes in our lives through people like Jesus. Continue to come and shine through others who have come to speak up for the love, unconditional love, for justice, for peace. The light continues to shine in people. They come and they go. We live and we die, and yet the light continues to shine. And sometimes we can labor in our lives and feel like nobody's noticing, that nobody has a telescope trained on us, that what we're doing isn't noticed, that we're not shining, that we're not making a difference. That maybe possibly that we believe that no light could shine through us. But the promise of Christ is that God's light has come to all of us. In Christ and through Christ, and Christ has shown us that the light of God can come and shine through all of And to have faith that even though we may not see those who see that light, who are changed by that light, who are transformed by that light, to trust and have faith. The light is real. The light is true. And to keep shining. Keep letting God shine. Just think of the people you know in your lives who have shined in your lives and whether or not they really ever knew the effect they had on your life or transformation they might have brought about in your life. I think of my grandmother who is long past, but who had such a faith and such a light that shaped my faith and helped me continue to believe and trust. You are a light. You can be a light. Even as you walk through hard and dark things, your shining, your ability to hold on, to have faith, matters. And can continue to shine for generations and generations. I want to close with a post from a pastor, colleague I know, who writes on Care Pages because he has been battling cancer. He's a father of two, husband, and recently had a pretty major setback in his cancer returning, and his chemo has had a whole lung removed. And he is a light. He writes honestly in his blog and continues to share authentically his struggles and his joys. And yet he knows that his time is growing shorter. This is his post. It's called The Light. It's the most wonderful time of year, with the kids jingle belling and everyone telling you be of good cheer. It's the most wonderful time of year. It's the happiest season of all, with those holiday greetings and gay happy meetings when friends come to call. It's the happiest season of all. There'll be parties for hosting, marshmallows for toasting, and caroling out in the snow. There'll be scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago. It's the most wonderful time of the year. There'll be much mistletoeing and hearts will be glowing. When loved ones are near, it's the most wonderful time of the year. Lie. At least for many of us. For those who have lost wives, sons, husbands, daughters, parents, dear friends, health, wholeness, and all sorts of well-being this year or years past, this song comes up woefully short of how we feel this time of year. I stand among those for whom Christmas is a painful time. It was on Christmas Day, 2008, that I discovered in whirlwind of panic and fear that I had colon cancer. Not a wonderful, happy memory in the least. It was more of a nightmare than anything. As family gathers from the four winds, as people make annual pilgrimages to Christmas Eve services, as hams are roasted, pies are baked, bottles of wine open, and Christmas presents are unwrapped, all in accordance with tradition, there are many who sit silently, wishing with all their Christmas might that things might have turned out different. We, after all, didn't sign up for this, right? And we certainly never imagined it would be this way. But it is. So where do the broken-hearted, lost, lonely, wounded gather in this wondrous season? May I suggest a place? The light. The light shines in the darkness. The darkness has not overcome it. John 1:5. Jesus, who claimed of himself, I am the light of the world, comes to all those who have been walking in darkness this year. He comes to the widows and the widowers, the brokenhearted, the lonely, those who feel the loss of a loved one, for those whom the color of the Hollywood is not cheery and bright, to bring the warmth of his light, to shine his point of navigating light and sea darkness, and to offer courage, hope, and life, for he has come to make his dwelling among us. What I love about the light, who is Jesus, is that he never asks us to leave the darkness. Indeed, for many of us, the darkness has become our new unfortunate home. Rather, Jesus shines in the darkness, comes into the dark neighborhood, and makes his dwelling with us there. Hope, grace, peace, truth, light, joy, and love has moved into the neighborhood. Compared to the overwhelming, deafening noise and clatter of this time of year, the invitation to come to the light is subtle, easily missed, and even difficult to find. In order to find it, we must simply ask, Lord, come find me again. Come, light my way. Christ has come. Christ is come. Christ will come. Merry Christmas.